Hey, all right. Hi, how are you?
I am so good. How are you?
Living the dream and pretty happy to end my day here. I will admit that the days are chaotic and I was like getting ready this morning and I was like, oh, that'll be such a fun part to my day. So thanks for being here.
No problem. I actually had the same feeling. I'm like, yay, this is the last thing I get to do before I go home. So
We
it's a
love
good
it.
end to my day.
Amazing. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and introduce you. I am so excited for you to meet my friend Stephanie. I have spent the vast majority of my career in higher education spaces where there is an ongoing question, almost a skepticism, about whether students who earn online degrees ever truly build connection. Do they feel a sense of belonging to each other, to the institution? Does affinity actually take hold? Stephanie and I are my answer to that question. We earned our Master's of Legal Studies together at the University of Utah, only in the same class once, I think, not even in the same learning mode, and yet our connection formed anyway, not just with each other, but with a broader circle of classmates and with the institution itself. Years later, that affinity is not only intact, it's meaningful, it's lasting. So if you're a critic of that reality, you can jot that down. But what makes Stephanie remarkable is not the story of how we met, it's who she is in the work. Today, she serves as director of non-JD programs at the University of Utah's S.J. Quinney College of Law, where she is leading strategy, shaping curriculum, building community across learning environments, and quite literally rethinking how education shows up for people. She's a bridge builder across faculty, students, departments, and external partners, someone who understands that leadership is not just about systems, but about people, experience, and trust. Her path to this work is equally compelling. Stephanie has spent her career inside complex organizations, moving from finance and operations into engineering, documentation, and continuous improvement leadership roles before stepping fully into higher ed, where she now integrates strategy, communication, and human centered leadership in a way that feels both rare and needed. If you know her personally, you know this. She is smart, kind, hardworking, creative, passionate, and compassionate. She is the kind of leader who pays attention to people, to systems, to what's said and what isn't, and then does the work to make things better. Today, we're talking about leadership, but I'll say this now so it's on the record. There's not a topic where I wouldn't value her insight, so don't be surprised when she becomes a recurring voice here. Stephanie, I'm glad you're here.
Oh, thank you. That makes me so happy. All of that. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for being in my MLS adventure with me and for being here today. So when thinking about your path, what through line do you see that maybe wasn't obvious at the time? And like I've been thinking a lot about journeys and like,
hmm
you know, we don't just arrive to where we are. So tell me a little bit about your journey to right now.
Um, Gosh, this is definitely not where I thought I'd end up by any means. I did accounting for a big chunk of my early career while I was raising children, and then kind of switched it up after some life-changing events to start over basically in my career path and went to an engineering world, which was all kinds of new to me. Different personalities, different
Uh-huh.
things, different work itself. And then I had this need. I had these grand plans for nonprofits and all these different things. And so this MLS degree was going to be my thing that let me into that world. And I took an unexpected pivot and ended up staying here at the College of Law. I never left after I graduated.
Which like what a cool story for the College of Law. Like when I think about you and the role that you have, like what an ideal person to have in that role because it wasn't your plan.
Oh, not at all. And ironically, I had never even thought about higher ed until you came along.
Well, I love higher ed, so I feel really good about that.
Yeah, you gave me my first little chunk of self-worth when it came to why not? Like, what's it gonna hurt if I go interview for a few of these open positions?
Yeah.
Worst they could say is no.
Yes.
So I did. And I
And
was
so
lucky enough, yeah, I was lucky enough to talk myself into working for the dean of this law school, which I couldn't have asked for a better boss. Oh my gosh, talk about leadership. Like she's goals. Everything she does is done with compassion, done with intelligence, done with the institution, but also the people that make the institution in mind. And that's so rare in what I've seen. So yeah, I had a great role model, and she she championed me. After you championed me, she championed me. And so here I am.
I love huge snaps for Dean Kronk Warner. Because yes, and like I will admit, like even in my time at the U, it was unusual to have someone who was like a personality in a
Yes.
meeting. And so like I just have so much appreciation for how she shows up in spaces as herself and competent and caring and like, visionary. Like so yes, just absolutely agree with all of those things. How long I don't remember when we graduated. When did we graduate?
2022.
Okay, so it's been 4 years.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what the last 4 years looked like because I don't feel like when you first started this was your title.
No, I was her executive assistant.
Okay. So tell me about
And
your journey from that to now.
so I was really happy in what I was doing. I loved what I did for her. You know, made me feel worthwhile. I got to kind of be in some conversations I normally wouldn't be in. So you
Mhm.
get to see how the sausage is made behind the
Uh-huh.
scenes, which is really interesting to me. And then we had the current director at the time it wasn't necessarily a non-JD space yet.
Okay.
It was still MLS only.
Yep.
Um, and she was trying to decide whether or not she was going to stay here or move on and do something else. And so the conversation just kind of organically happened like, hey, between some of the senior leadership, our finance guy, our head of HR, and the dean. And they're like, have you ever thought about it? And I'm like, yes, this is who wouldn't think about this? Like when I was a student, I thought
Uh-huh.
about this.
Mhm.
Because this position is the person that's in charge of the entire program that we
Mhm.
were students of. So I, again, doodled on it for a minute, went back and forth, and again, Elizabeth was. I mean, you'd think she would be the person that would say no because she was losing an executive assistant, and she absolutely backed me and just like this is your realm, like
Yeah.
you belong there. So put my name in the hat, and here we are. I did that. My official change date was 2024, July
Okay.
1st, 2024
Okay.
is when I became the director of non-JD programs. And what I mean by non-JD programs is now we are starting a bachelor's of legal studies as well. So I oversee both of those programs. Um, but at the time, the bachelor's was just, barely getting off the ground. It was still going through the gauntlet of all of the approvals throughout the university. And so we were kind of seeing that through. Um, and it's been a little bit of a challenge. We had hired someone to replace me as an executive assistant who ended up leaving early into her tenure. So
Yeah.
I was doing two jobs
Uh-huh.
up until about February of 2025.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a trial by fire. Like, here you go.
Uh-huh. That's a rough way to make that transition.
It was, but I actually really, really appreciated it.
Yeah.
When you feel like maybe I made the biggest mistake of my life,
Mhm.
and that imposter syndrome starts coming in, and you're like,
Uh-huh.
oh my gosh, I am so not qualified for this. I could turn to the executive assistant stuff and go, no, I'm amazing.
I'm actually so good at this and you are so lucky I'm here.
Right. Like it was a really strange balance that I had to do every single day, but I think it really did help my self-esteem
Yeah.
to excel at something,
Yep.
to help me
Yep.
like fuel me into the stuff that was unknown.
I think that's incredibly insightful and I appreciate you sharing that because I do think you don't always like that's a it really is like that routine that like I know how to do this and if I know how to do this and I didn't always do this then I can figure this thing out too.
Yeah.
Like how do we find ourselves in positions that are encouraging to us is relevant. I do want to talk about leadership, but I also want to just pause and ask, is a Bachelor of Legal Studies, like I feel like when we started the MLS, it was new. And like now I'm seeing ads from other institutions. Is the Bachelor of Legal Studies also kind of equally new and innovative?
It is. I don't know exactly how many other programs. I want to say under 10 in
Yeah.
the country.
Yeah.
Um, that's not to say that next year there won't be some, explosions, since a
Sure.
lot of schools, quite frankly, are looking to try to find new revenue
Right.
in different spaces. And this is a no-brainer. If I were an undergrad, this is what I would have done.
Yeah. Yeah.
in a heartbeat. And there are so many students that we're hearing from now that are just like, it's about time. So
Do
I'm really
you
excited for that.
do you feel like the students who are getting their bachelor's go on to get a JD, or do they go in a different path, or do we know, like, we probably don't even know yet.
We don't know yet. All of it's really early, but I'm really optimistic. We can't tell them that it's, a pathway into the JD
Right.
because, of course, of the entire admissions process.
Right.
Um, but it's not going to hurt when you walk into that room to take your LSAT and you already know stuff.
Yeah.
It's already ingrained in your brain. You've been studying it for 4 years. You've written papers on all of these things.
Yep.
Like, you know what you're talking about. So I anticipate us seeing, especially the ones that, I mean, I'm already seeing some of these students because we launched our minor this year.
Okay.
And I'm already seeing some of these students rise to the tops of their class. Like, who's going to
Yep.
be
Yep.
the one, or like there's a
Yep.
group of students that are always going to be at the top of the class, and they are going to be the people you're going to see in 4 years, and they're going to have all the honors and all the accolades
Yep.
and all the offers for all the schools. We're already seeing some of that. And so my hope is that we start to see those folks become a large part of who's admitted here.
Mhm.
And it's almost like the professors would be setting themselves up for greatness
Uh-huh.
by priming these students to come into the JD field.
Yep.
It's like a self-perpetuating thing, but yeah, I can't say enough about it. And I'm kind of older than most in this building these days, so I have not been around folks in the undergraduate world very much, so
Uh-huh.
it's a new world, but I love it.
Yeah.
They're great. They have such an energy about them that I forgot about.
Yep. That is absolutely true. Yes. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing a little bit about that. This is our shameless plug for the minor, the bachelor's, the master's, and your JD, and in general the S.J. Quinney College of Law, which is a gorgeous building, phenomenal faculty. And I will say, like, I'm never the first of anything. Like, I'm never on the first wave of anything. And I do feel like I was on the first wave of the MLS, where, like, no one really knew what it was.
Mhm.
And now there's ads and conversations about, like, yeah, I did that. I did that. I did that. I did that early.
And you were in the first online class offered here, so that's a big deal, because that's proven to be, and I don't know if it was a COVID thing, but it's proven to be a lot more popular than the in-person, just, I mean, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So it was a great decision.
Thank
It was
you.
a great
It was.
decision, I think, for us and those who have taken the classes. And obviously every cohort's different, but I love to see the endorsement, because now as an administrator, I'm like, ooh, are they getting everything we want them to get out of the program? So I
I,
love to see when they are.
I love it. I love when I find niche things on Instagram and I'm like, I know exactly which 6 people I
Mhm.
can send this to. And I enjoy that. So thank you, S.J. Quinney College of Law. So, questions about leadership. You work in systems that are complex and layered, and because we love higher ed, often slow to change. How do you personally define your leadership style in that context?
Uh, I've had to make some adjustments because, again, higher ed was new to me up until about 4 years ago. I Everything I did was in the private sector and mostly in corporate environments they were strict, but they were different,
Mhm.
and they didn't move as slowly. I'm going to regret saying that, aren't I? So it was really new to me. Like, oh my gosh, I had to like have conversations with myself. You need to be patient with the system and all things. Don't get worked up the very first time that someone says something to you or throws a wrench in your gig, because that may not really ever come to fruition anyway.
Mhm.
So that's wasted energy. Please don't spend it in ways that are not good for you.
Yes.
keep keep that energy that you need to get through your day and
Yep.
focus on other things that you know you have control over.
Yep.
I have a staff of two, and we are our own little, I hate to say family because that sounds so trite, but our culture in our area is very collaborative. Um, we do preach patience. We know how cyclical everything is, so we know what
Yep.
to expect every single year now. We know what each other's strengths and weaknesses are, so we
Hmm.
can play off of those and use those with our students as well.
Hmm.
And every single one of us knows that we could come to each other with wins, losses, admit I made mistakes, which I do all the time, and I'm not afraid to admit that. Um, and yeah, I tend to want to do what Dean Crown Corner did with me, and I know I'm not going to keep these people in these positions forever and ever. I'd
Hmm.
love to because
Yeah.
they're incredible, but they are both way, way talented, and they're going to grow and they're going to outgrow what we're doing
Yep.
here. And so I want to do everything I can to make sure that they're prepared for that and that I can, help build their resume or help build
Yep.
whatever. And I think that goes a long way as well.
I am kind of annoyed by how unique that is. And I will say, like, I think I appreciate you calling that out in Elizabeth. I would say the same thing about Heidi Woodbury. Like, I started as
Mhm.
Heidi's executive assistant. Um, and Heidi saw sure that that's not where I ended. And so I think like it is a little bit confusing to me when people act like, well, this person's really great, so I got to do everything I can to keep them here. And that is so cheap.
I know.
So I appreciate you calling that out in your leadership and the way that you are continuing that in the team that you're leading. And so I think one of the things I would ask is if somebody's leading in this space, what does it look like for you, either in practice with yourself or in communication with your team? How do you build that culture of you're wonderful. I am so glad you're here. I know I won't be able to keep you. Like, what does that actually look like in conversation or even literally just to yourself?
So I'm very candid about it. I have weekly one-on-ones with my direct report, and she then has weekly with hers. And
Hmm.
so my message, if it's not coming directly from me to both of them, and at least it's going through my direct report.
Yeah.
And I say it outright. Like,
Hmm.
I know you're not going to be here forever. I know we have you for a limited time.
Yeah.
As much as I want to keep you here for the, like, keep right, I hold on to you without letting
Hmm.
go. I know that's not realistic, but that also bodes well for the department because that means I'm getting your best work,
Hmm.
and your best work at the level you're at now is, I couldn't ask for more. Like, I am
Yeah.
just grateful in the moment.
Yeah.
Um, so I tell them outright that I want to build them up, and I know that they won't be here forever. There are, and as you know, I don't know if how your school is handling this, but I think every school in the nation is looking at their budgets. They're looking at whatever political things are happening in the academic zeitgeist seem to come down to money
Yeah.
in a lot of cases, and so we're all really, really paying attention to that. And one of the bad things that comes from that is that payroll tends to stagnate, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And I want my folks to know that I'm aware of that. Like, I
Yep.
understand where you are, and I understand that this can't be your job forever because it's
Right.
not realistic. But
Right.
while you're here, let's do some really awesome things. So
I I think people are afraid to say it out loud. And so I appreciate you're just being really clear about like I say it out loud, I say it to
mhm.
them. And I think there is this like first of all, we're talking about reality. Like this is how I know you're having a real relationship and real conversations with your employees because you are talking about the real things. And I think sometimes there's this like general stigma around one-on-ones, like this performative or this isn't real or I don't really know this person. And I would just say, like, this is an encouragement from Stephanie and I that like you actually can and should have real conversations with your team. Because there isn't this like, And I think it's not just you should have real conversations, but also do not say things that are untrue or unhelpful. Like, do not make somebody think that they have room to grow in a scenario where you don't have the authority or the control to add dollars
Absolutely.
or promotions in that space. That is not kind.
No, it isn't. And the temptation is there because you want to make the person feel better about the very crappy situation, basically, that we've all
Yeah,
been placed in. And that's just unfortunately not, and I have no control over that. My
right,
boss doesn't have any control over that. Her
right,
boss doesn't have any control over that.
right.
So, we make decisions every day. We decide if we want to be here. We decide if we want to do the work. And I mean, again, I'm hoping, I always have hope that it'll come back around.
Yeah.
Things tend to do that, especially in politics and legislative sessions, and things shift and focus shifts. And, who's to say where we'll be in 5 years?
Who's to say where we'll be in 5 years, but you know that your employee wasn't lied to by you,
Yep.
didn't have this false premise of what they thought their career trajectory was going to look like. And I think this is important because I do think sometimes there's a generation of employee whose parents or grandparents or community says, I stayed in my roles for however long, my whole life.
That was me.
Yeah.
In my day, I worked 25 years in a certain job, or,
Yep.
I stuck it out. That is just not the mentality these days.
No. And so, like, how do we help normalize that conversation? And I would say, even from the teams that I've led, how do we support them in having that conversation with other people? Like, it's actually good for you to grow. This is okay. Like,
Yeah.
how do we help them have that conversation when somebody might look at them and say, oh, you're making another move?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say brutal honesty, but technically it is. Just be genuine.
Yeah.
Don't give them a reason to think that you're doing something nefarious.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch everyone in that. Folks are going to think that you are, regardless of your approach or what you say, or just because of your position. Well, she's in this position, so she has to say A, B, and C.
Hmm.
And you're not going to, that's not something I can control.
Yeah.
They can think that
Okay.
if they want.
You say all the important things, and I love that about you. How do you, because you just said it very casually, like, I can't control that. How have you gotten better at managing the things you can't control? Because I think this is a sticking point, I think.
So even just when you first met me, I was not this person. I was manic till the cows came home. Everything would set me into a spiral, um, no matter how big or small.
Hmm.
I worried about what people thought about me. I worried about how I was viewed, the work I was doing, like what clothes I was wearing, what car I was driving, what my kids were doing with their lives,
Hmm.
all of the things.
Yep.
And I'm not really sure what the epiphany was. That I mean, there wasn't really one like solid point, but I mean, it might be helpful just because the dean was constantly telling me how amazing I was.
I think that does matter because,
I
like,
think it
because what
helps.
else changes, right? Like, the
Yeah,
change is honestly Elizabeth.
yeah. And then I was surrounded here by really incredible people.
Yeah.
I've never been in a work environment where every single person who was on the floor in offices around me talked like me, had stories like I did, had the same beliefs and interests and values, and were incredibly happy and positive every single day. Those Sunday scaries that I had for 30 plus years were gone. And I didn't understand or believe it. I'm like, nope, they're coming back soon. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it hasn't.
So,
So
like,
I think taking a step back, going, okay, now I understand there
yeah,
is no reason to get freaked out about every single little thing. I have this incredible support system,
yeah,
which I couldn't have gotten here without any of them.
yeah.
And I'm just able to take a higher level view of things
Yep.
now, and again, spend my energy where it's necessary, and let's try not to waste it. Not to say I don't jump off of like some crazy. I'll get an email yesterday, as a matter of fact, at the end of the day that just like I ruminate on for hours and hours and hours, and I do make a conscious effort that I don't immediately respond. Take a beat.
Wise. We call that wisdom.
Yes, and yes, and because I just, you know, I also I'm in a weird world where, and you understand this because you know the culture here. There's this JD world. Everyone has a JD, the professors, many of the higher level deans, all of the people in charge. And there's still that little bit of me that I need to prove myself.
Yep.
So, I do make conscious decisions
Yeah.
not to become unprofessional in that environment. It's not the best move.
Well, you said something that I wrote down. You said I had to have conversations with myself and thinking about like energy and how we spend, like don't waste your energy. And I think like based on what you're saying, I feel like this is a last 4-year kind of like mindset shift. But I do think that if we thought about our energy like we think about money or time, I think even time, we've gotten slightly better at thinking of it as kind of a transactional value. But like, I so appreciate your kind of emphasis on like, I could get really, really worked up about this and I could let it ruin my entire day and every meeting I have and every interaction I have, and I can make it everyone's problem for a really long time. Or I could not respond to this email right now. And I feel like you talk about that really well. Are there specific things you say to yourself? Like when you get this email and then you have to decide how you're going to handle it, do you have a thing that you're like, hey, okay, we've been here before. What does that look like for you?
I won't use yesterday as an example because that was not a good day. But I usually have things that I'll do. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna leave this desk, and I'm gonna go for a little walk. This campus is gorgeous. The building's gorgeous. I have friends in offices. I'm just gonna go for a little walk and touch base with some folks. Go get a cup of coffee. Go get a sugary snack if I'm feeling really brave. So a lot of it is just take myself out of the space that I'm in.
Yep.
Does a whole lot to help me. There are those that I do go and vent to, which is also helpful. Like, the cone of silence folks.
Yep.
I think we all do ourselves a very big service by being that person for each other, because otherwise I don't know what we do. But yeah, I immediately remove myself from the situation. That doesn't mean that I go home and I completely forget about it.
Right.
I still do the ruminating thing, and that's not healthy. So I need to figure out how to not do that as much. But I also think about it because I'm type A, in case you didn't know. I also like do this rehearsal in my head.
Yeah.
Where if I'm okay, I know I'm going to have this conversation with this person tomorrow. I better rehearse. So I don't say something that's really inflammatory or not great. And then it makes me just feel better about going into the next day. But yeah, that's how I handle it now. Who's to say it won't get better? I'm hoping it doesn't. I don't backslide any, but also too, when you get to be my age and you can say things in this sage wisdom voice, you've experienced so much of life and you've seen so many people allow those sorts of things to really have negative effects on their well-being.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person anymore.
Yeah.
It's just rough. I don't want to dread going to sleep on a Sunday night and then not wanting to get up to go to work the next day. It's not a fun existence. And that's just not for me anymore. So.
Well, and I think even the way that you're correlating that, like this is a quality of life situation. This isn't like I was right. I really enjoy being on my high horse situation. It's like your response and the way you manage it directly correlate to how you feel going to bed Sunday night. And like I
Absolutely.
think even being able to connect those things, like it's not everything. You don't hate this person. You don't hate where you park. You don't hate your lunch buddy. You don't hate this part of your job. You hate the way that you maybe feel like you have to be wound so tight all the time. And I think that's just a helpful comparison. I will also say, I don't know that there's a single leadership conversation I've had where the thread wasn't back up, take a step back, go for a walk, remove yourself, change like and I think I'm so grateful for the scope of conversations because it's not any one person in any one context in any one industry. It is actually just a fact. And I think I don't know who said it, but I am going to just I'm going to say it was Nietzsche because it was definitely like someone in that caliber that I saw today that said never trust a decision you make inside, which I think is an overstatement, but like the call was like go outside. Take that walk. Let nature do what nature is supposed
Yes.
to do. Let room do what room is supposed to do. Um that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would do, you know, something my family calls. We have the Lopez look. We have a Lopez tantrum. My mom's a Lopez, so like it's a kind of a family joke that our temper has been a big giant part of our personalities, and we're very reactive.
Yeah.
So I have to tell myself, Lopez does not play nice. I need to keep Lopez in this other realm,
Yep.
and we can let her out when necessary in other parts of your life. So,
But I think like this is
but
and I'm
Lopez is chilled, so
I think like this is what I'm trying to extract from people and you are a great person to be in this space of like no literally what does it sound like in your head? Like if what we're talking about is self-talk or managing our own emotions or navigating things that are hard and they are really hard and they do matter and they are important. If they weren't important, you wouldn't care, right? Like so like how do we qualify and kind of box up like okay, this one goes over here. It's not the time is
absolutely.
helpful. So thank you for that. You do a lot of student interaction, not just staff interaction. And so, how do you think about students not just as learners, but like people? And how does that impact your leadership in academic spaces?
So as you know, most of our cohort are mid career professionals.
Mhm.
So they have a different objective in their educational career. They also have different challenges than your typical undergrad would have. They have full careers and families and lives outside of school. And so when this program was created, it was created to work around that for folks because
Mhm.
that's the most helpful. It's the basis behind every executive master's program that is out there. Um, so when talking to students, I have to keep all of that in mind.
Yeah.
Also, too, I'm super grateful. Again, when I started going to college, and I'm going to just age myself in 1991, student support was not a thing.
Yeah.
CDA offices were not things.
Mhm.
We weren't concerned about accessibility and disability and how to make someone's education work for them.
Mhm.
And I could not be more grateful that that exists today
Yeah.
because I am not qualified to help students with a lot of the issues that they have today. I mean, people
Mm.
have some really hard things going on in their lives,
Yeah.
and I'm not qualified. I can be a first person to reach out to, and I will help you find the resources that you need to get the real help. But also, too, like if you need a shoulder to cry on, or just someone to vent
Yep.
to, or hey, can you help me, set up a time with this professor so we can talk about some hard stuff? You bet. I'm on
Yeah.
it. Like I am here for you. I'm here to support you. Please don't get that confused with I'm your customer service representative, because that sometimes happens.
Yeah.
But the level of student support that we offer now is just night and day. And it's wonderful because people are spending a good chunk of their money on this thing that we offer them. We need to make sure that they are able to succeed doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like I this is true in all facets of education and all functions of academia. But I think especially in the field of law that has historically been so exclusionary
Hmm.
and so like if you're not legally literate, you're not navigating this space. And so I think like equity matters in every space. I would just say it matters extra in the space of law in the United States of America. And so I think like equity and accessibility they're pulling double duty in a college of law because historically, you couldn't get a master's in legal studies. There wasn't a minor in this, there wasn't a bachelor's degree in this. And I think like it's so cool. Your job is so cool. Like societally, it is so important. And I am so grateful that you are the person in that seat, in that role, shaping those things because I know you don't take any of that for granted. And I just appreciate that immensely. So thank you for how you think about students and their access to the things that you do because it matters.
Thank you for saying that.
I did not, I mean, obviously we both have a master's in legal studies, but I genuinely did not have as much an understanding of that reality until we were in that program. And I was like, oh, this wasn't accidental. Interesting.
Right? It's wild. And it's so funny because I get to see the students have that light bulb moment now.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
the student, like, it's doing, oh, it's one of the things I love. It ranks right up there with, wait a minute, I understand legal language now. Like, I can follow the Supreme Court hearing and I know exactly what they're talking about. A whole new world opens up, and it's just
Yep.
like, songs from the heavens, the lights, the clouds, the harps, all that stuff. And it's such a cool moment to experience because I also get to see them when they're really struggling. We
Yep.
both know that first semester is no joke.
That was a doozy.
It's horrible. The amount of reading that you have to do for each class, and I'm not downplaying what others do. It's just it was a shock. I was
Because
not
it's a
ready.
different language. And I
Yep.
remember sitting in the library with Annika Smith, who was like my absolute blessing in my online cohort, and reading something and rereading it and be like, I don't even know what it's asking me to do. And you have this moment where you're like, I might not be smart.
Yeah.
Like this is so concerning.
But I don't know if I want to say the cool thing is because it's not cool, but it helps me. And I tell my students on orientation day, every JD student goes through this too.
Mhm.
It's just a different language.
Yeah.
We all come out of another program, undergraduate program, what have you. We all learn to write a certain way, read things, study things a certain way. And guess what? This is not that.
Yeah.
So, we kind of all get together in it's almost like a trauma bond where
Mhm.
JD, one else are in the same boat. There's like, I have read this thing 7 times and I don't know what I just read.
And I think that's like such a funny part when we think about how much reading there is. It's like, yeah, because you have to quantify the amount of times you had to read it before it made any sense.
And it's very dense, very long
Mhm.
sections of very giant books.
I have a visceral memory of I think that maybe Annika and I were on the phone and there might have been other people too. It was like Sunday afternoon because everything's due Sunday at midnight, right? Or maybe it was, I don't know.
Mhm.
And I remember working through like not just a reading, but an assignment, something we had written and like put together and thought through. And like I remember getting the phone back out and be like, I just gotta be honest with you. I think we're wrong. Like 5 hours in, I don't think we have this right. And like there is like you want to talk about humbling. There is a humbling reality to being able to put that much time, energy, and effort in something and being like, I don't want to fail this. And so I can't just turn it in. And I think you need to know I don't think we have this right. And that's a formative reality.
And that again, that happens with law students too, with JD students as well. And it is hard because, as you know, the type of students that both programs attract, these are people who were top of their class, straight A's always, always killing it, knowing everything. And then when they get to this space and they don't excel right away, it is jarring.
Yeah.
And it is a hard space. And some people don't come back from that.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here for, to like, okay, you can do this. You still can
Yep.
do this. We're going to push you through. We're going to help you. Tell me where you're struggling.
Yep.
Just do it. Get past that first semester and then everything will click. And
I promise.
yeah, it's kind of incredible to see that happen. But yeah, the tough part is hard to watch, and I mean, we've been there.
Yep. Yep. And I just, again, I would just reiterate, like, I love that you're the person in that chair, because there's just, I do think there is, and there was at least one faculty member who didn't was retired before we were done, who I was like, I don't think you remember what this feels like. And
Absolutely.
I love knowing that you've been there recently. Like, I know what this is like.
Yeah, and I like to. I mean, I do have conversations with the faculty as well. I do try to guide them as much as possible, but this is a different group. Like, you're not teaching JD students, so it's a different mindset. They're not scared to tell you how they feel.
Yes.
And they have different experiences than we all do,
Mhm.
because as you know, like, people from all different career paths come here to do
Yep.
this one thing. And so they could have incredible experience over in like risk management, or there's some others that have done, I'm just trying to think of the more niche. We've had photographers, and this year we have two medical doctors.
Interesting.
So, like, there are vast amounts of different experiences that we all, faculty included, need to be open to, because
Yep.
we've not experienced those things, and we
Yep.
need to make sure that we're hearing them.
Yeah.
They may know something that we had no idea about, and we're going to learn something today.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I want to know, for you, when you think about what makes a great leader great, tell me one thing you think makes that difference between, like, oh, my boss is okay, to, like, my boss is really phenomenal.
Hmm. The word trust just keeps coming to mind,
Hmm.
and so much goes into that. How I gain someone's trust, the actions that I do every single day, the things I say, um, not saying things just uh, to say things, just
Yeah.
to get past the moment because it's uncomfortable. I really do put a lot of stock in that initial trust piece, and then work with that. If I didn't trust Elizabeth when I first started, Dean Corner, sorry, when I first started working for her, and if she didn't trust me, we would not have had that relationship.
Yep.
Um, and I hope, and I work on every day, that I'm able to show my staff that they can trust me, and that
Mhm.
I trust them. It's reciprocal. Like, I have to let them know that I trust their judgment. They're here for a reason. We hired them for reasons. They're incredible at what they do.
Yeah.
And I need to put my trust in them to do the things that they're supposed to do. I think it just comes to that simplicity.
I think you're right. I think you're a genius. I think you're wonderful. All of those things are true. I think one of the things that you said in that conversation about trust that I think is so important is not saying things just to say them because the moment is awkward. And so I think a question I would ask you is, like, how does somebody get better at sitting in that discomfort or that awkwardness where you might want to just say, oh, we'll keep you here forever. We can promote you and you'll be so happy here. Like when you're sitting in that moment where someone's kind of saying, like, I don't really know what my future holds. And they're kind of looking at you like, what are you going to tell me? Like, where do you draw from? What do you deploy that makes you able to, like, sit in that or be honest or help build that trust?
So, like I said, that little guy on my shoulder is there, and I have to shut him down. Um, but I think it's just past experience. I have managed people in different areas, um, and I've learned by doing the thing. I've placated people, And then when it came back to bite
Yeah.
me, I will never forget that feeling. The
Yeah.
embarrassment, I'm playing wrong. I said something dumb, or I look like, and technically I did lie.
Mhm.
So, like, that's an awful, I'm never doing that again
Yeah.
if I can help it.
Yeah.
Um, Also, too, as you know this about me, one of my volunteer journeys was I was the various, I have various positions with Youth Little League
Okay.
here in Salt Lake.
Mhm.
And I did that for over 10 years. And I started, just as a board member, and then I worked through different positions: treasurer, vice president, president, all the things. And that's a whole new world. Want to talk about, first, you're dealing with the children, but you're then also dealing with their parents.
Yup.
And you have to not only be careful not to say the wrong thing or to placate somebody, but you also need to say the right thing in a way that they won't misinterpret.
Yep.
Because you can try all day long and say the right thing, and
Yep.
they glean something else, and then explosions happen.
Yeah.
And there's so much social capital in that world of, you know, kids and their teachers and their parents and all the things that they're involved with. They will go to school and talk about what happened at baseball last night,
Yep.
or the things that were said between grown-ups at baseball last
Yep.
night. And I learned the hard way. There were some very hard lessons in the beginning of that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just based on terrible experiences I've had, which is I don't want to do it again.
And like I've had those situations, and I think there is just like this, like, if you could learn it without doing it, I'd implore you to think about what would happen if, like, when that person's looking at you in the eye and they didn't get whatever thing you alluded that they might. And I'm not even saying you
Mhm.
told them they would, but did you leave it open? And like, I think even your specificity on, like, can it be misconstrued and how does that working? And I think the other thing that you talked about earlier that you came back to here is like, we're practicing. Like, I think there is this kind of negative, like, don't get all wrapped up in all your things. Like, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't think about how that conversation's
Right.
going to go. Like, think it through. What are the questions you expect to be asked? How are you going to respond to them? Do you know the information? What information can you share? Like, that takes work. And I think there is, like, whether that's in a cone of silence or to yourself or you're writing, think through those conversations before you're in them because they're not easy.
Yep. There's nothing worse than being blindsided by something that later, hindsight, oh, I should have known that they were going to ask this question, but yeah, maybe I should have,
Yeah.
had I thought it through and not just gone in. Also, too, I have been on the other side of that. I think we all have, right? We've all
Mhm.
had bosses who did that,
Yeah.
said the things that they thought we wanted to hear, and then couldn't follow up on later, and the devastation that sometimes that brings, especially in your younger years. You just
Yeah.
get married and you have a kid and you are struggling every single day to put food on the table, and something your boss said gives you that push to get through because you think this thing is
Yeah.
coming, and then it doesn't. Nothing changes on your end. You
Yep.
still have a child, you still have food to put on the table, you're still struggling day to day. So it doesn't change for them, but the effect it has on you as the employee is huge. And I don't want to do that to my staff. Like, I don't want to do that to anybody.
Well, and like, that's on being human. Like, we're all trying to navigate this space. And so I think that is like the other, just like what we're talking about is like real leadership. like like if I acknowledge that you are a human in the real world and I'm a human in the real world, like, I can assume you need to make money at
Yeah.
baseline, right? Like, that's not a surprise actually.
And you learn really young, like when you're little, how important money is and
Yeah.
how you don't mess with money.
Hmm.
You don't misconstrue it. You don't ask people questions about it. Like, it's one of those, what is it? You don't talk about politics, religion, and money.
Uh-huh. Right there.
Yeah, there are reasons,
Yeah.
because those things are so important to folks and such a big part of their lives, whether they want them to be or not. They
Right.
are.
And I think I think that might also be part of the reason why these conversations are hard, because we are out of practice. We don't talk about them until we have to. And like in that instance, well, of course, it's kind of a little bit of a setup for failure because we haven't gotten comfortable having those conversations. And so I don't know what that looks like in people's reality as they like learn and grow professionally, but like how do you start those conversations
Mhm.
and feel normal about them? Because I do think we were all told not to talk about it, but then you're in a professional context where it's your job to talk about it,
Yeah.
and that's a struggle.
Well, and too, I mean, in Utah at least, some of that's public information.
Correct.
So you're kind of fighting against that as well.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there's no other option to go into it but being truthful.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can Google that. That's
Yes.
a really good point. And I did appreciate that. That was new to me when I got to the U, because most of my work prior to that was like religious nonprofit work
Hmm.
where we're all just guessing. And I do think that it's important to acknowledge the helpful asset that some of those laws that changed that brought to the table. Maverick would like to say hi to you. Do you want to say hi?
Oh, love
Come on,
Maverick.
come on, come on. Just say hi. Well, you got to come up here though, because she can't see you. You're gonna make me look like a fool. Come on, man. Yeah, just say hi.
Oh,
Yeah,
I just want to hug that dog and take a nap.
he's the best cuddler. Okay, go play now. Yeah, yep, okay. Okay,
Wait.
we are very much at time, but I have one more question if you have a
Okay.
second.
Yep.
Okay, last question. When you think about the future of education, especially the way that people learn, connect, and belong, what gives you hope for the future?
Oh gosh. That's a hard one because there are plenty of things that come through daily that try to like squish my hope. Squish all our
Correct.
hope. But I think lately, not only our MLS students and watching them have these aha moments, watching them get really incredible jobs that they didn't even think about a year ago.
Yep.
But with this new crew of undergrads, just seeing their enthusiasm for life, it is contagious. Like I don't know how. I know there's this attitude like, oh God, I don't want to deal with undergrads. They're so exhausting. I don't find it exhausting. I think they bring so much energy.
Yep.
I mean, there's a reason that all of us stay in higher ed because it's nostalgia. Like, bring it back to when I was at a certain age and I was walking around campus and the world was in front of me and I had all of these options. Sure, it was scary, but it was so exciting.
Yeah.
And to see that every single day, it just kind of reminds you, like, just take a step back, be grateful for the things you have. And these kids are not. Are these kids way smarter than we were at their age? I feel like they are.
Yes, I would say yes.
Which gives me even more hope.
Yeah.
Because they're going into things, making decisions based on their knowledge and their values at such a earlier stage of their life.
Yeah.
Which means they're going to go further than I ever did, which is really cool. Like, I love having a place in that world.
Yeah. That's the perfect place to close. Thank you. Thank you for your time. It was great to see your face. I appreciated all of this. It was helpful for me. It'll be helpful for others, I know. Just so grateful for who you are and what you do every day.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day. Bye, friend.
Bye.